Part 92. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 916. The ancestors of the Kaishan ancestors have all been cast, the masters have been killed, all the monks of the Tianjian sect have been completely chilled, and almost all of them desperately escaped towards the gate of the Tianjianzong mountain. Wei Suo did not put out a black pattern prohibition that could block tens of miles. He just continued to scan and continued to kill some people. It was obviously a strong killing intention for him, and the cultivation level was higher, which threatened him. Monk of Heavenly Sword Sect. This was a complete slaughter. No one could resist Wei Suo's blow. A famous disciple and the elders of Tianjianzong were killed. Don't kill me, I'm willing to hand over the sword sutra passed to me by the sword ancestor. Suddenly a young monk of Tianjianzong who was bullied by Wei Suo shouted. Puff. During Wei Suimen's meal, several huaguang hit the young monk, but he didn't kill the man, so he restrained the young monk. You Tianjianzong also have a disciple named Du Wei, can you recognize it? After Wei Suo restrained the person, he first asked. It turned out that this person was named Chen Chen, one of the 4 young disciples selected by the ancestor of the Sword King, and was inherited by the ancestor of the Sword King. Du Wei was another Tianjianzong monk who forced his parents into the evil veins of the magic lines. Du Wei, this person has been completely shocked by Wei Suo's might. He dare not conceal anything and shivered. Just now he was beaten into the fly ash by the divine prestige of the Patriarch Bone Sword. Aren't you talking nonsense? Wei Suo uttered a large multiplication sound, killing a Jinjian monk in the distance, and forced to ask. I dare not talk nonsense. Fang Cai Du Wei was fixed in the air by the ancestor Bone Sword, I can see clearly. His flying sword is a black snake, the sword light is black and curved, and it is striking in the air, otherwise I will not attention, Chen Chen said tremblingly. Already killed. Wei Suo whispered to himself. All the monks of the Heavenly Sword Sect were fleeing desperately like dogs of the bereavement. In his consciousness and sight, he could not see any Jindan monk of the Heavenly Sword section. The monks have been killed. Tianjianzong was really wiped out by him. All the onlookers were shocked. Puff. At this moment, Wei Suo was shocked, and once again felt the fatal danger when the bronze-green ancestor Bone Sword of Fang Kaishan Sword Sect was shot, unconsciously launched the whole virtual footwork, and instantly stepped out to the left and crossed more than 20 times. In. What happened? The eyes of all the onlookers bulged again. An unbelievable scene appeared in the sight of all of them, and a faint blue ocean suddenly appeared in the hands of an ordinary Tianjianzong monk who seemed to be fleeing. Suffocating coercion swept the world again. This is a unique jurisdiction formed by a faint blue pattern, just like a world on one side. Wei Suo crossed more than 20 miles in an instant, and was still swept by the edge of the blue ocean, and the right half of his body was directly shot into fly ash. A monstrous breath could not be restrained from the seemingly ordinary monk of the Tianjian section. In the air that filled the air, there was a unique divine profound fragrance. This person is definitely not a disciple of the Tianjian section, it is a certain kind of Xianda Neng mixed in it, disguised. And the mastery of this person's timing is shocking. It seems that Wei Suo's mind and heart fluctuated, completely riding Wei Suo to kill all the Tianjianzong Jindan monks, plus another enemy has also fallen, and the mind is naturally relaxed. When launched, one hit worked. Buzz. But at the same time, Wei Suo's 2 gods and metaphysical bodies once again emerged, showing the lack of crescent moon and Daijiji, and played 2 monstrous supernatural powers. Boom. The disguised Shen Qiande can immediately shoot a very large golden ship with a size comparable to half of the mountain, and at the same time turn out a blue kunpeng to fight against Wei Suo. The 2 sides collided with each other, only a moment of stalemate for a breath or two, the golden giant ship and the blue kunpeng all shattered. The disguised Shen Qiande Neng stepped out a lot of cyan lotus, flew back at an unimaginable speed in the void, and coughed up blood at the same time. Boom. Wei Suo once again played out the missing month and day Zhumi. Hi, there was a puff of cold air from the outside watching the monk. The disguised Shenxian Daong could glow with layers of blue light, and he coughed up blood again and again in the mouth, but it seemed on the contrary, he was able to draw on the power of the impoverished moon and Dejima, and the speed of receding backward was faster. The speed of the blossoming blue lotus flowers in the air was unimaginable. Here, a Qinglian god road was formed in the air. Wei Suo apparently wanted to pursue, but immediately his body shook slightly and stopped in the void. Yexian Cheng, 3 words spit out from his mouth. The disguised Shen Xiande Neng kept blooming cyan lotus under his feet, swaying straight up, and in a moment, it had turned into a little blue light. Although this moment of battle did not see the face of this person at all, but the breath from this person had already been judged by Wei Suo in an instant, and this person was Yexian Cheng, the master of Xuanhuan. Now, not to mention the Tianxian continent, I am afraid that even the entire Yunling continent knows that his flesh is woody, and he will fall in a few days. Even a dead enemy like Zhen Wuzong, no one dares to appear, no one is willing to, and the last crazy monk who was about to die was desperately, but Yexian Cheng came. Since dare to come, Wei Suo will naturally not keep his hand because Suan Fengmen is the master of Shui Ling but the piece of blue sea that Yexian Cheng just shot, obviously is also a kind of Suan Fengmen's pressure vessel inheritance implement. It is not counted that Wei Nen knocked off half of his body, and at this moment there is still a strong power, which is constantly spreading inside him. If he does not fight with all his strength and continues to pursue, he may directly collapse completely and fall. So at this moment, he had already hit Yexian Cheng hard, but he was unable to chase it down and could not kill it directly. Boom! A powerful water spirit vitality and Xuanhuan vitality swept through the two gods and mysterious Dharma from above, flushing his flesh and counteracting the unique power of the jurisdiction remaining in his body. Under the vigorous flush of vitality and the infiltration of the essence of life of Yuanqi Shenzhen, his broken flesh slowly recovered as before. Xianfeng Shenwang Ship. That is Suanfengmen's sovereign Yexian Cheng. Yexian Cheng actually appeared and wanted to kill him. Half of the body is still dead. There is still power to fight back. And even Yexian Cheng can't stop the power of a blow. This person is not a secret technique that can close the injury, but a kind of cultivation that can restore the body. Mystery. God. If this person is not woody, he must be the first person in Tianxian continent. Many people have recognized that it was Yexian Cheng who gave a sudden blow. Seeing Wei Suo's physical recovery is almost speechless. Puff. Wei Suo's figure fell straight down the hill just before Cao Yi was abandoned. In the attack of Fang Cai, Chen Chen, who had been controlled by him, was also shattered into pieces by the power of the faint sea of blue sea shot by Yexian Cheng, and the remaining 2 disciples of Tianjian sect were estimated to have already he was killed in the melee, and now inherited by the ancestor of the King of the Sword. Only Cao Yi is left, and Wei Suo did not want to cheap Cao Yi to die like that. If this person died silently like Du Wei, it would not make Wei Suo feel a lot of hatred. This person was too cheap before and provoked him many times. Fortunately, a lot of dust has accumulated in the big hole made by Wei Suo, but Cao Yi, who was piled under it, was dead. At the moment, he was not dead, but he was already twitching. He couldn't even scream. The facial features were completely twisted, and the nose was still twisted. Slowly making a little bit of corpse oil. This technique of the corpse sect itself is used by the corpse oil used by the corpse sect to refine the refiner, and it is directly used by Wei Suo on the living monk. It is extremely poisonous. It is a few points of fire in the bone marrow and meridians. In order to prevent the bone marrow and meridians from dying, it slowly made the monk's blood into corpse oil. It's like cutting a piece of meat from a monk's body to make it grow, and then cutting it off, until the monk can't bear it completely, and his vitality is cut off, but the degree of pain is the skill. I don't know how many times larger the cut meat is. And Jin Dan, a monk like Cao Yi, can support for at least more than 30 days. By then, if Wei Suo's flesh is not lifted, he can't die even if Wei Suo is dead. So at this moment, Wei Suo swept his mind and found that Cao Yi had not suffered any other major damage. He ignored it. He directly rolled up Cao Yi and swept Cao Yi towards the direction of Ling Longtian. At this time, almost all the monks of Tianjianzong had run out, and the rest were almost all surrenders, or low-level disciples who could not even fly away. Many of the prohibitions were no longer excited and controlled, and they have been lost. Uses, Ling Longtian to break the ban, can be said to be as powerful as breaking bamboo. At this moment, Ling Longtian has broken through the hilltop of the 7th Tianjianzong. The mountain of Tianjianzong mountain is full of various kinds of fine gold ore piled up in the mountain. Ling Longtian shines his eyes in this mountain, rolling a lot of ore into his sleeve, and then swept it out. Wei Suo crosses the void and Ling Longtian meets, heading towards the 8th mountain. Feng Daiyu, don't you see what is good? Wei Suo made a sound toward Feng Wukang. At this time, Feng Wukang was staying in the void, with no movement. Hearing Wei Suo's shouting, Feng Wukang smiled slightly and didn't refuse to say anything. He swept toward Wei Suo and Ling Longtian. Since that's the case, then you're welcome. Let's take a look at Wei Daiyu's trophies. Click. Ling Longtian was completely violently cracked, and after the penetration of the aura of the grey bracelet, he directly broke the formation of the formation, but in an instant, the prohibition of the 8th mountain was broken one by one, and all the palaces were opened. A flying sword with and without a handle was taken out. This mountain was impressively used by Tianjianzong to refine and store the flying sword. Ah! There are so many flying swords, just a few flying swords, it's unbearable, these people are fully developed, why don't I join? Many monks outside stomped their feet desperately, cats scratching cats in their hearts, it was regretful that the intestines were all green. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 917. Wei Suo, Ling Longtian, and Feng Wukang headed towards the 9th mountain. The monks in the back were very excited to follow behind the three. The first 8 hills except Ling Longtian collected some spirit stones, fine gold, ore, etc. The rest of the things were shared by them. Every monk was divided into amazing the number of runes, spirit stones, spirit pills, and flying swords, so many amazing resources. It is likely that in the future a lot of Jindan monks will be created directly from this group of monks. This is the great chance, and it also comes with a life fight. Among the thousands of monks, more than 200 monks fell. Even if Wei Suo will definitely be able to fight down at the beginning, most of the monks are still afraid to join. This kind of chance is rare. Can we seize it depends on the monk's own choice. All the monks outside are jealous and envious. This is a chance to fly into the sky, but now they know that they have missed it. At most, they can only enter the Tianjianzong mountain gate after Wei Suo and others have finished scraping and leaving. See if there is anything to fish for. On the 9th mountain, there are still blue sacred lines, and Ling Longtian just fell in the golden light in his eyes, and fell directly, breaking several bronze palaces, and all the blue sacred lines that appeared faintly disappear. Land of sword practice. Many monks who followed Wei Suo and occupied this mountain found that there were valleys with sword marks interspersed all over the mountain, many of which were at least 1,000 years old, and many of the depictions beside the valleys were all the catalogues are the tips and tricks of some imperial flying swords. This hill is awesome where the Tianjian sect is dedicated to fighting and practicing swords among the disciples under his door. Wei Suo and Ling Longtian searched again and found that many of the sword tactics on the cliff face in this mountain are some shallow low-level sword tactics. Remember to leave a copy for me after writing down, but Wei Suo I still said this to all the monks who took out the notes and quickly recorded them. His current state is far from what ordinary monks can match, although it is only low-level sword tactics and some imperial tricks, maybe at some point it will also give him some new insights. He brought surprises to these monks. In the eyes of these monks, they were like real gods. These monks naturally obeyed, and they all recorded 2 records. They left 1 copy and left the other to Weizhuo and Linglong. Day. Wei Suo and Linglong Tian continued to move forward, and the 10th mountain was completely opened. This is a hill with many Lingtians arranged, just like Dizong's Daying Peak. It's just that many elixir is used to help refining the flying sword, which is not common in the outside world. Wei Suo and Linglong Tian are also welcome, sweeping away all the elixir containing water spirit and some higher level elixir that may be used. The number of remaining elixir is also very amazing, and the monks who followed them were naturally harvested. The number of elixirs each person has is estimated to be comparable to the stock of an ordinary store. The 11th mountain was opened, and there were several warehouses for storing low-level devices. Various low-level devices were taken out. The 12th mountain was opened, and at least tens of thousands of clothes of various colors were stacked in it. Among them, there were even a lot of inner-level disciples and true order disciple-level spirit-level clothes. Wei Suo and Linglong Tian and others continued to move forward to open the mountains of the Tianjian section. The accumulation of such super-large gates of the Tianjian sect was astonishingly large. The mountains were like treasures. Opened in public, the hundreds of thousands of monks who watched from the outside were simply envious of jealousy. Wei Suo was not in a hurry, so the construction of the Jade Pond should be completed at least 2 or 3 days later, so he and Linglong Tian carefully searched the tops of the mountains, did not let go of anything that might be useful, and were not in a hurry to go directly to Tianjianzong's some heavy ground. An underground palace in a mountain was opened, and many of them could be used to promote spiritual cultivation. A mountainside on a mountain, a pavilion with purple ancient runes all over it was directly charged by Weizhuo. The vitality of this pavilion very strange, there is a breath of divine profound power, and it has a unique counteracting effect on the vitality of the wind system. According to Linglong Tian, it can be used to resist the 9 days of gangling wind when it resists the heavenly tribulation. Even Feng Wukang, who followed Wei Suo and Linglong Tian, was completely speechless. Wei Suo and Linglong Tian collected too many things. We went down dozens of hills in a row. Wei Suo collected at least 4 or 5 monks' elixir, which can be raised to Jindan's cultivation. Flying swords above the top level of the spirit order, hundreds of various treasures and utensils, many of which have strange treasures. Yu Tianzong is also a super large sect that is comparable to the Tianjian sect, but even as a true disciple, the sect resources that can be enjoyed exclusively are only a very small part of it. But at this moment, Wei Suo has laid down the entire Tianjian sect and completely scraped it. The entire super sect belongs to one person. This resource is really amazing. Everyone is enemies. This is indeed the most achievable way. Feng Wukang's mind could not help but have such a thought. Throughout the ages, many monks who have made amazing achievements are all countless enemies, killing countless opponents and embarking on the road of Shenxian and Zhenxian. Collecting resources with one person's strength is no match for capturing a super big door. Wei Suo had previously killed a large number of Jindan monks who did not know how many, and it was reasonable to achieve such achievements. In this way, it's not a bad thing to look at all the enemies. Feng Wukang's eyes flashed a fiery light. Originally, his mentality was extremely tenacious, but after all, he was a monk of the Zongmen, and he had many scruples in doing things. Many people who wanted to kill could not be killed. Many things they wanted to do were still in consideration of the Zongmen and could not be done. It has changed. However, Wei Suo did not know that he gave Feng Wukang a lot of feelings. The Tianjian zone, who was beaten down by him, was like giving him another dragon mound. Boom! One day later, with a thunderous explosion, the prohibition of the Tianjianzong Buddhist scriptures was broken by Wei Suo and Linglong Tian together. Tianjianzong's Tibetan scriptures are a huge grotto, but there are thousands of small grottos in the big grottos. It is recorded that only Tianjianzong monks of the true disciple level can get in touch with technique is the true heritage of Tianjianzong. Wei Suo knew that there might be some very extraordinary heshug, so he looked at the caves one by one. The ancestor's bone sword, the last ancestor of the sword, was exhausted and completely transformed into decayed bones. He and Ling Longtian searched carefully and found that they had been completely burned in the ground fire from the mountain, but after a while scratch, he has 160 flying swords on his body, most of them are above the spirit level. If there is a powerful sword scripture cooperation, it must be an extra supernatural power. God Thunder Sword Skill. Yin Shenji Anju. Big 5 Yang Excalibur. Tianjianzong is worthy of the sect that is mainly flying swords. Many of the sword tactics in this Tibetan scripture are very amazing. Compared with these sword tactics, the 2.5 sword tactics that Wei Suo had previously learned are completely different. Upscale. Thousand Sword Zuxi Sword Formation. Destiny Sword Classic. In the end, these two verses completely attracted Wei Suo's attention. Thousand Sword Zuxi Sword Array is a sword squad that can make a 1,000-handed flying sword, making it a large array that can be attacked and defended. This is very similar to the record in this Tibetan scripture place that Wei Suo had seen the Destroy the Devil Altar sword formation when he attacked the Tianjianzong mountain gate. But the difference is that what Wei Suo sees, the appearance can form a giant pot-shaped sword array, which requires thousands of sword repairs to be displayed at the same time, but the 1,000 swordsmanship evil sword array can be displayed with one person's strength. It's just that the 1,000 swords of the sword and the sword formation are amazing, and the consumption of real elements is staggering. The scripture notes that at least the divine profound sword can be the sovereign, and most of the 1,000 swords of the sword and sword formation relies on the power of the flying sword itself. But no matter how you say it, this is definitely a supreme strongman, and the power of the 1,000-handed flying sword is played together, which is definitely unimaginable. After seeing this sword scripture, Wei Suo decided to let the monks who followed him let out some flying swords, at least enough to make up 1,000. The monks had also completely exploded this time, giving up a few flying swords would not at all any physical pain. Destiny Sword Sutra is the ancient scripture of Huang Piu's unparalleled ancient destiny sword Yuan. Fijian can be refined into a life treasure, and it can gather almost all the supernatural powers in the body and burst out in one blow. At that time, Huang Piu's tremendous mastery of Shengxuan's heavy cultivation, and the birth of Xuanhuan, was already comparable to Shengxuan's second major power. And this kind of ancient scripture can be used to continuously refine the flying sword itself with its own true Yuan, and it can also continuously improve the enemy's power. All the scriptures and records in the Jianzong Buddhist scriptures on this day Wei Suo also made all the monks who followed him enter and gave him a copy, and the monks who followed him were very happy to listen. He said that if he wanted to fly a sword, he actively took out all the flying swords above his spirit level. As a result, Wei Suo gathered more than 2,000 flying swords on his body. There's something weird in it. When traveling to the hill where the natural stone tower of the bronze sword of Jealousy, which was made by the ancestors of the sword ancestors who had been visited by thousands of monks of the previous sword ancestors, was called Brow jumped violently. I don't know what, Wei Suo's eyes flickered immediately, and he also felt that there was a peculiar vitality in the mountain, which was difficult to explain. And when Wei Suo collected it all the way before, from the mouth of some captured Tianjianzong monks, this mountain was the highest-ranking secret land among the Tianjianzong, and usually only Tianjianzong and Taizhang elders can enter. The ancestor of the Sword King emerged from this mountain. Go. At the moment, the outer periphery of the mountain was not covered by a ban at all. Wei Suo and Ling Longtian carefully traced the extraordinary gas machine they landed, but it fell to the natural stone tower with a patina. Cao Yi's position, which is related to the inheritance of Xuanhuan's ancestors, twitched all the time, could not be called, was still wrapped in Wei Yuan by Wei Suo and carried behind him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziwei. Chapter 918. Wei Suo, Ling Longtian, and Feng Wukang fell on the flat in the middle of the mountain where the natural stone tower is located. The breath that made Wei Suo and Ling Longtian feel strange and extraordinary was emitted from the natural stone tower that was 200 feet high. Wei Suo and other people kept sweeping their consciousness, and at the same time carefully looked at the surrounding scene. It should have been cut out when the ancestor of the King of Swords was at the peak, and Yu Wei couldn't stop. Ling Longtian looked at the left side of the stone tower from time to time and spun out several substantively amazing sword chi. Said. Wei Suo nodded, and there was clearly the breath of the Sword King ancestor in this mirror-like space crack. The ancestor of the Sword King ancestors at that time almost killed him. At this place, the power of a sword has not dissipated until now. The power of the 5 peaks of Shenqian is indeed amazing. Because I can see that the amazing sword energy cut out from the cracks in the space seems to be mysterious, but there is no rule, only the power remains. So Wei Zhuo did not waste time. His focus was obviously stone, but it was full of appearance. Modeled patina on a natural stone tower. There doesn't seem to be any special prohibition. There is something in it, but I can't see clearly. The golden light flashed in Ling Longtian's eyes. After looking at it for a moment, he said to Wei Suo. Wait. Before asking this person, Wei Suo didn't dare to carelessly, reached out several times. Huaguang hit Cao Yi's body behind him, and relieved the endless burning fire in Cao Yi's body. What's in there? After taking an analgesic spirit pill and smashing it into Cao Yi's body, Wei Suo asked with a blank expression. Give me pleasure, I will tell you everything I know. Cao Yi's throat seemed to have been broken, and there was a sound of hay rubbing. Wei Suo was silent for a moment. Originally, he had decided not to give Cao Yi a happy heart, but the person now looked like a dog, and he suddenly felt that it did not mean anything to torture the person. After really breaking the gate of Tianjianzong Mountain, Cao Yi was captured, and then another monk named Tianjianzong Du was also killed, and the violent spirit in Wei Suo's heart was gone, and the mood was very big. Change. Invisible. Wei Suo feels that this desperate attack on Tianjianzong is also of great benefit to his last step to break through Shenqian. This bad breath is gone. Even his cultivation behavior seems to have some disadvantages. Something is played. Let yourself solve the woody flesh next, and finally the Shenqian breakthrough can improve a lot. Of success rate is not necessarily. Moreover, this time he had several new enlightenments with Dateo Ban, several pieces of inheritance instruments of the Tianjian sect, including the final Yexiancheng battle. Okay, you tell me everything I want to know, and I promise to give you a good time. Wei Suo thought for a moment, then watched Cao Yi nodded and said. It is said that the body and bones of the ancestor of the Sword King and the inheritance tool of the ancestor of the Kaishan ancestor of my Tianjian sect are unknown. As for the other, I don't know. Cao Yi saw Wei Suo nod, as if he was granted an amnesty, and even exposed the grateful look made Ling Longtian speechless, and felt that it would be meaningless to torture such a monk like a dog. Is there any special prohibition? Wei Suo asked without looking at Cao Yi, looking at the bizarre stone pagoda covered with patina. With his divine consciousness, I can feel slightly that the center of the stone tower is empty, and there should be nothing in the holes outside. I don't know this either. The place here is a forbidden place where only the sect master and Taizhang elders of my Tianjian sect can enter. Only this time we worship the ancestor of the Sword King ancestor. Tianjianzong is the most powerful, that is, the ancestor of the King of the Sword. The ancestor of the King of the Sword is the sword repair. The arrangement is prohibited. The most powerful will not exceed the magic power of its own. There should be no problems. Hearing Cao Yi's after answering, Ling Longtian looked at Wei Suo and said. I'll open this stone tower. Wei Suo nodded, and made a wink at Feng Wukang. With a roar, the torrent formed by two transparent flying swords appeared outside the three persons first, and then Wei Suo also sacrificed the indestructible net bottle. Then, the ancient blue oil lamp was also sacrificed, and a blue glow was shed. The ancient cyan oil lamp is very mysterious. Pieces of blue divine light made a clear sound of Buddha, like a sharp blade with a shank, cutting the skin of the stone tower layer by layer. Without any accident, the entire stone tower was cut down layer by layer, revealing the inside. There was indeed a sitting corpse inside, and there was a stone case in front of it. That is, the eyes of Wei Suo and others were immediately attracted by a pill bottle and a piece of ancient charm on the stone case sitting in front of the bone. The ancient runes are also copper green, like jade, but they are exhausted and fragmented. And in a pill next to it, there was a vermilion halo floating in it, shining in it. At first glance, it is obviously a pill, but this pill is actually suspended in the pill bottle, giving people a feeling like a star. The spirit pill left over by the power of Shengxuan's five-fold peak is certainly not ordinary. After Wei Suo and Ling Longtian glanced at each other, Zhen Yuan carefully explored, and after seeing no response, Wei Suo photographed Dan Ping in front of him. There are also weirdness in this body. Ling Longtian said so again at this moment. The bones of the cross-sitting have decayed. If this person is the same as Cao Yi said, it is the ancestor of the Sword King, and his supernatural powers have not been shown on his flesh. But the strangeness that Ling Longtian and Wei Zhuo felt before, but could not judge what it was revealed from the abdomen of this corpse. With a wave of his hand, Wei Suo sat down on the body of the corpse, flying like a butterfly, revealing the contents of the corpse. Another coffin. The old man in green robe had already been summoned by Wei Suo. When he saw what was exposed inside, he could not help but exclaimed. Inside the decaying dead bone, there is a crystal coffin. This crystal coffin is only 1 foot long, crystal clear, bright yellow, smooth outside, without any runes. It's understandable that the body is in a coffin, but there is actually a coffin inside, which is really strange. Is it Emperor's Heart crystal coffin? Ling Longtian's face immediately appeared uncertain. Click. The crystal coffin was photographed by Wei Suo from the dead bone and suspended in front of him. The crystal coffin has a very peculiar smell, and it seems to have a strange power, but there is no divine, true fairy breath exposed. It gives Wei Suo a feeling similar to the feathery white nucleus of the feather, which is very strange and mysterious. Which made him a little dare not move. Emperor Heart crystal coffin? Do you recognize this thing? After looking at this thing, he asked Ling Longtian. You open this thing to see, Ling Longtian said, staring at the crystal coffin. Wei Suo nodded, and Zhen Yuan agitated, with little effort, and opened the lid of the crystal coffin. It really is the Emperor's Heart crystal coffin. I didn't expect this thing to be present in the current Tianjianzong. Just glanced at it, Ling Longtian said directly. What is the origin of this thing? Wei Suo, Feng Wukang, and the old man in green robe also saw at first glance that there was nothing in the crystal coffin, and no runes or patterns, but there was something inside. A heart-shaped depression, as if generated naturally, is not artificially carved. A peculiar crystal, with a falling meteor, has a heart-shaped fruit in it. This fruit has created an emperor-level character. The crystal shell has also been found to have a peculiar power. Polished into the shape of a small coffin, called the Emperor Heart crystal coffin, Ling Longtian explained, this Emperor Heart crystal coffin can help to repair enough monks, and the imperial envoy can't shake the magic weapon. This thing, the power is also consumed. I didn't expect it to exist until now, and I haven't exhausted it completely. Made a true immortal? A magic weapon that could make the monk imperial servants unable to shake. Wei Suo, the old man in green robe, and Feng Wukang were very surprised. Although its fruit directly allows an ordinary monk to break through to true immortality, it is absolutely impossible, but the effectiveness must be very amazing, and the magic weapon that the emperor cannot shake. This kind of power is really unique. That is to say, if I get a real fairy, if I can't control it with my cultivation, but with this thing, it can be controlled, Wei Suo couldn't help but asked. There should be a lot of power left in this thing, but it's not enough. I will know it when I get the time to try it. Ling Longtian glanced at Weizhuo. With Weizhuo's current practice, if it is estimated that the real fairy artifacts that have been obtained can also be used as imperial envoys. The extremely magical weapons and emperor artifacts on the ordinary fairy artifacts are all horror magic weapons that contain the amazing avenues of the avenue. The remaining power of the emperor's heart crystal coffin is not enough to make this level of magic weapon, but I don't know. How is this thing used? Wei Suo asked simply. This strange thing might be useful in the future. Because he had seen the dignity of King Lei in the ruins of Baimen. The fairy soldiers of that level, with his current cultivation practice, are estimated to be unshakable. Even if they can get it, it is estimated to be the same as when he obtained the law of Zhentian unavailable. Like a common magic weapon, it is enough to infuse the real element into it, and then to break the excited power into the magic weapon to be shaken. Ling Longtian completely lost sight of this thing, but he lost his interest and focused his attention on the other immortality bottle. Wei Suo nodded his head, without any nonsense, and put away the emperor's heart crystal coffin, and then a little bit of real money lifted the cap of the pill bottle with a vermilion spirit pill suspended inside. What none of them had expected was that the cap of the bottle had just opened and the light flashed, but the elixir inside was shot directly out of it, and flew towards the sky at an amazing speed, instantly turned into a trace of vermilion escape light. What kind of panacea? Is it psychic? You will escape yourself, the old man in green robe screamed suddenly. Well, Wei Suo also stunned slightly, knowing that this magical pill must be a trivial matter. Almost at the moment when the reaction came, he stepped out and immediately launched the whole virtual footwork. In just one step, Wei Suo had reached the front of Lingdan and grabbed this scarlet Lingdan in his hand. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 919. Hiss. Wei Suo sucked water like a dragon, took a deep breath, and made a loud noise in the air. As soon as the spirit pill started, many silky and gentle vitality flowed into his body, which revitalized his spirit. Just the infiltration of some auras gives him a feeling that all his consciousness is growing. This is definitely an extremely amazing grade, and there must be an ancient Dan that increases the effect of consciousness. This. With a glance at the spirit pill in his hand, Wei Suo couldn't help but take a deep breath. This is a mysterious pigeon egg-size ancient Dan. The surface is as clear as a vermilion gemstone, and inside, it is a ganodermal lucidum shining with vermilion light. At this moment, a force is shaking, but it is impossible at all. Breaking free and twisting inside, he seemed very panicked. In this moment, Ling Longtian and Fen Wukang both caught up. What kind of ancient pill, even if it has cultivated spirituality, will automatically escape? Fen Wukang was also very surprised. This level of ancient pill, he had never heard of it. Now the top-level alchemist, even if the world is the treasure, it is impossible to refine such an ancient pill. True solution fairy pill, Ling Longtian screamed when she saw the vermilion ganodermal lucidum with life in the vermilion ancient pill. After she recognized the Emperor Heart Crystal coffin earlier, she was also used to it. It seemed that the Emperor Heart Crystal coffin was nothing to her level of contact before, but the level of this magic pill was enough to shock her. Degree. What kind of panacea is this? Wei Suo asked immediately. You put it back into the pill bottle first to prevent the loss of drug power. The material of this pill bottle should be very special. Ling Longtian did not answer Wei Suo's words immediately, but said this quickly. Wei Suo did not dare to have any indifference. He pressed the still struggling vermilion spirit pill into the original pill bottle and closed the cap. The surface of this pill bottle looks like ordinary jade, but the inner material is obviously the same as Ling Longtian said. The inner layer has a black gold halo, which makes Ling Panda dare not touch it? I don't know the specific effect, but you can't let the outside world know that you have this elixir. After watching Wei Suo collect this elixir, Ling Long Genius said, this elixir is said to be used some kind of Xianzi refining is a panacea specially used to break through the real fairy. This ancestor of the Sword King must have prepared this pill and used it to break through the real fairy, but surely some places are not prepared. There is no final I embarked on the road of true immortality, so this magical pill remained. Wei Suo was shocked in his heart, is it a breakthrough to break through the real fairyland? I won't say this medicine of immortality. Feng Wuokang's eyes flashed slightly and said out loud. He was also very shocked. In the world of monasticism, he has not heard of the appearance of true immortals for thousands of years. The things involving true immortals represent a level of almost nothingness, but when Ling Longtian speaks, his eyes but he stayed on him for a moment, he naturally knew the meaning of Ling Longtian. Something of this level, even the fourfold and fivefold power of Shenxian, will fight for it. In today's Taoist realm, although I have not heard of a breakthrough to the true immortal, but it is not that the cultivation base is above the 4 levels of Shenxian. Wang Tianyi of Emperor Tiandao has already cultivated the 4 levels of Shenxian. In other continents, according to Wei Suo's judgment, there must be more than 4 powers of Shenxian. Wei Daiyu, Imho, I see that although you are woody and difficult to reverse, but you are not completely dismayed. On the contrary, you have collected a lot of things that seem to be prepared for subsequent cultivation, and even resist the sky tribulation. Said after that sentence, Feng Wuokang also looked directly at Wei Suo and asked, do you still have a way to survive this robbery? To be honest, I know a possible method, but the chance of success is not great, and it is very likely to fall, so I just sent the news to let you meet me. You are among the people I know. I think I can believe that I have enough background and strength to protect the only people who can protect my relatives and friends. Wei Suo looked at Feng Wuokang and said calmly, and this method I know needs an amazing amount of water-containing spirit. The demon elixir and elixir, etc., I want to capture the Tianjianzong, not just to revenge, but also for an important reason. I want to collect these resources. It turns out so. Feng Wuokang frowned slightly, and immediately looked at Wei Suo and asked, did Wei Daiyu have the necessary water demon and elixir together? It's still a big part. Wei Suo shook his head. I'm going to collect some more through some square cities. Next, I will go to Jinwuzong and his party. You still want to attack Jinwuzong Mountain Gate? Jinwuzong has Su Shenjun sitting in town, and as far as I know, some of the prohibition and inheritance instruments of Jinwuzong are more powerful than Tianjianzong, and Jinwuzong and Xuanfengmen are now in alliance. Although Ye Xiancheng was seriously wounded, there was no danger of falling. The exercises he practiced are said to be the most stressful to meet the difficulties, and it is likely to be shot again. Feng Wuokang's face suddenly appeared very dignified, and he immediately shook it. Shaking his head, I don't recommend that you attack Jinwuzong. If you can trust me, I will return to Yu Tianzong and his party to do my best to collect water demon and elixir for you, but I also want you to give me a promise. Wei Suo glanced at Feng Wuokang. What promise? If you can survive this robbery, and form an ally with Yushinzong. Feng Wuokang looked at Wei Suo and said seriously. Okay, as long as you and I form an alliance, I will naturally not reject a super big door as a friend. Wei Suo looked at Feng Wuokang and smiled slightly. If you can survive this robbery, I think Tianxian continent and Yunling continent, I am afraid that there are few sects that dare to openly enemies with you. How can we not dare? Feng Wuokang couldn't help but laugh. Laughed and said. Since that is the case, then give a high five as an oath. Wei Suo stretched out his hand and intersects with Feng Wuokang's palms. Okay, I will return to Yushinzong now. Do you want me to rush back within a few days? Where will I meet? Feng Wuokang was not nonsense. He was ready to get up and say goodbye. Not much. After 8 days, you rush to Xianjia city. As long as I have not fallen, I will contact you. I will not easily reveal whereabouts during this time, and you should not tell anyone about this news, including your master. If others know that I still have a chance, I am afraid that it will attract many strong enemies. Wei Suo looked at Feng Wukang and said. Feng Wukang nodded and said nothing more. When the figure moved, it turned into a blue streamer and shot out the Tianjianzong mountain gate. Dead prophet merchant, do you want to test him? Looking at the escaped light from Feng Wukang, Ling Longtian grinds his teeth to hear Wei Suo's ear. The accumulation of such super sects in Tianjianzong is very amazing. Wei Zhuo got a lot of high-level water demon and elixir from it. With the accumulation of Wei Zhuo, it is estimated that it should be almost the same, and Wei Zhuo must be once the chemical jade pond is set up, it must be used immediately. It is absolutely impossible to wait until 8 days later, when it is about to fall, before starting to use the chemical jade pond. I intuitively think that this person is worth paying. If he really wants to help me through this robbery, and collect a lot of water demon for me, it is like life and death. It is completely trustworthy. Wei Suo nodded. Although he is now enemies, it does not mean that he does not want to have allies, but that he is weak and strong in the monastic world, and plundering resources with each other. It can be trusted that there are not many people worth paying. Record the sword scripture of the sword ancestor. After talking with Ling Longtian, Wei Suo returned to the hill below and asked Cao Yi to record the heritage of the sword ancestor. Cao Yi dared not have any violations, and recorded the complete inheritance of the sword ancestor. The ancestors of the Sword King ancestors are actually called Sword of My Sword. This sword scripture is also extremely amazing. It includes a heaven-level top-level true elemental practice and 2 amazing secret techniques. The amazing thing about the true elemental practice is that the thickness of the true element is very amazing. The thickness of the true element is nearly double that estimated by the Water Emperor's Phantom, which means that if Wei Suo had no other chances, there would be no stars. In the case of quenching body technique, even if it is the 5 roots of the fairy roots and the 2 gods, the thickness of the true element in the body is almost the same as that of the cultivation of Shenxian. This kind of true element thickness antagonizes the enemy, and the staying power is amazing. And one of the 2 amazing mysteries in the sword of extermination is one of immortalization. This technique obviously does not have much effect on Wei Zhuo, so Wei Zhuo did not take a closer look. The other only my heart sword made Wei Suo suddenly comprehend it carefully. This only heart sword, at the first stage, can draw down the magic power of the spell, and it can be played together with the flying sword. It is equivalent to a gold spell. According to the scriptures, the power is also equivalent to the sky. The top-level attack technique should be at the same level as Daiji Sumi. If the power of the monk can reach a certain level, it can condense a heart and sword, seal a period of mind and even the monk, and hit an amazing distance. Wei Suo also carefully questioned Cao Yi, knowing that at that time the ancestor of the Sword King directly folded a green pine as a sword, so the blue wooden sword was not a real sword, but the ancestor of the Sword King used to carry him. Jianqi was transformed by his heart Jianqi. And his heart and sword qi turned into 1,000 miles, and even can penetrate the void. That should be the reason for his amazing cultivation, plus the unique understanding of Dao jurisdiction. This on my heart sword scripture is very mysterious. Then, while continuing to scrape with Ling Longtian, the old man in green robe and nearly 1,000 monks, Wei Zhuo almost figured out its meaning word by word. 2 days down the mountain of Tianjianzong was almost digged 3 feet and thoroughly dug. Among these nearly 1,000 monks, many are poor monks, many are also sea treasures don't kill, so they will lay down their lives to attack the monks of Tianjianzong. The extent to which these people scrape them up makes Wei Suo feel ashamed. Even the palaces are completely shattered. In the flower pots, under the bed, and in the dark grids on the wall, all kinds of small places were found. All places with strange breath, Wei Suo and Ling Longtian have already explored twice, and in these 2 days, Wei Suo and Ling Longtian have no longer any place to explore. However, Wei Suo and Ling Longtian did not leave. After another half-day, outside the gate of Tianjianzong, a firework was fired, and it concealed into a peculiar pool word. Go. Seeing this firework, Wei Suo asked all the monks to leave at the same time, and kept playing a round of missing moons. In the appalling eyes of all the monks in the periphery, the Tianjianzong inherited for thousands of years, and the hilltops all collapsed behind Wei Suo. The Tianjianzong were all leveled and completely leveled. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 920. Chapter 920 Scraping Cultivation Resources. This thing is similar to ancient cyan oil lamp. Wei Suo looked at the unusual color of the volume, as the ancient paintings that blended all the colors of the world into it. The ancient painting refining party shapeshift great art is very unique. It seems that talisman is hidden in every thread, and each thread is twisted together. It seems that the whole volume of ancient paintings constitutes a number of unique shapeshift great art. Divine Mark. This ancient painting has been broken, and this kind of powerful energy, when complete, is definitely the real immortal artifact, and it is probably comparable to the Divine Mystic 5th layer Great Treasure Divine Might's Extreme Deo Immortal Armament. The young man in Huai has this level of ancient great treasure, plus the shapeshift great art that the divine consciousness strangles. In the golden core cultivator, it should be almost invincible. It seems that there is still something to be prepared, and it is absolutely certain that this person will be held in one fell swoop. An iceberg was directly labeled as ashes, and it was blown into countless white snow and it was very great treasure. Maybe it would attract people to check, so Wei Suo didn't stop, and after changing his eyes with Ling Longtian intercourse, he began to fly. Far away from a circle, wandered back to the city of Ningcui, first found a residence. The divine consciousness of the young people of Huai is very overbearing, and it is as arrogant as the divine consciousness, which is longer than Wei Suo's expected time. It took nearly a night to retreat. Wei Suo only after a complete recovery, no longer hindered his shapeshift great art. This young Chinese man must have shapeshift great art, not to mention the other, this pair and the shapeshift great art of the divine consciousness of the same level of Tathagata divine glow, which is extremely useful for Wei Suo. The shapeshift great art great treasure and the shapeshift great art, which are able to withstand the great treasure by shapeshift great art, are very rare, plus a shapeshift great art that is smashed by divine consciousness, which has the ability to block both secret place shapeshifts simultaneously. Great arts shapeshift great art and shapeshift great art great treasures cultivator are even rarer. I am afraid that Wei Suo is against the enemy, and it can only be hardwired. After leaving the residence, Wei Suo and Ling Longtian took long muxing and first strolled around the lively places of the secret place in the city. There should be a great treasure cultivator duel, and the origin chi wave is said to be very intense. Not necessarily a great treasure cultivator, there is no great treasure. What is not a great treasure cultivator? A mountain has disappeared directly. Many of the cultivators in the city are talking about what happened last night, but the great treasure battle is fleeting, and the young man is not sure about Wei Suo's identity. There is nothing wrong with Wei Suo and Ling Longtian. Out. After a round trip, Wei Suo and Ling Longtian went to Ning Danfang. There was no accident, and Keaton Feng was very reputable. Obviously, there was some kind of secret place in the body. It was seen that Wei Suo was the divine mystic great treasure. The treasurer of the company personally prepared the liquid and the acquired monster core and the excess. The spiritual stones and other things, intercourse gave Wei Suo. The ability of this condensed square has also made Wei Suo somewhat unexpected. In just one day, the water attribute monster core and the spiritual herb have collected more than 5,000, including 5 level 7 low-grade water attribute monster cores, and a level 7 mid-level water attribute monster core. This can also make Wei Suo from time to time of the culture, for several days, to upgrade some cultivation base. In addition to Ning Danfang, Wei Suo and Ling Longtian took long muxing and went straight to Kistler Park. Fellow deist. Wei Suo and other talents have just arrived at the gate of Kistler Park. They have not intercourse into the spiritual stones needed by the park. Fengji, a white-haired old man, and another black-skinned old man with a yellow bamboo pole and a yellow bamboo stick. I was very excited to walk out of the garden. This made Wei Suo feel a little bitter. This Fengji old man is obviously too obsessed with the exploration of these unidentified great treasures. He and the black-skinned old man seem to have been waiting for him to come near this door. Feng treasurer, is this? Wei Suo was very polite and greeted the Feng old man and the black and thin old man. The old man is also the treasurer of the strange stone garden. The yellow bamboo stick in the hands of the old man in black is also very polite, and Wei Suo introduces his identity. It turned out to be a wood dispenser, but I will be lucky. Fellow deist, are you still going to make a turn? Feng treasurer and the name of the wooden shopkeeper will welcome Wei Suo and others into the great treasure door, and asked. There was an urgent matter yesterday, but it was only a small part of the place. Today, I really want to turn around. Wei Suo smiled and said very honestly, Feng treasurer, wooden treasurer, to tell you the truth, you have a lot of good things in the stone garden. I also want to see if there is any good luck and get some great treasure, useful secret place. The fellow deist is pleased to take care of it. There are some things in the garden that we don't know about the origins and uses. I hope that fellow deist will teach you one or two. As long as I know it, nature can be said. The shopkeepers of the two odd stone gardens personally welcomed the guests, and the identity of the three people must be extraordinary. It seems to be golden core great treasure cultivator. There is often a golden core great treasure cultivator in and out of the strange stone garden. It is not uncommon to let Feng's treasurer and the wood dispensers personally greet them. It must be a well-informed person to see what they are watching. Maybe you can get a good secret place. The two old shopkeepers personally picked up Wei Suo and others into the million precious treasure garden, which immediately caught the attention of many cultivators in the park. I want to buy this stone. I saw that Wei Suo and two old shopkeepers had just stayed by the great treasure stone in the middle of a weedy field for a while. Wei Suo and others just left, and immediately there was a red-robed bearded beard. The cultivator first plucked, directly pointed out the crystal stone and bought the stone. The appearance of the stone is very infiltrating, the surface is uneven, there are many bright red lines, as if there is blood infiltration. The price of this stone is 5,000 down the price of spiritual stones. Oh! I heard that someone immediately bought the stone, and the two old treasurers who had already walked out of the section came back. Do you know what this is? I bought the red-robed bearded cultivator of the stone and asked immediately. This is a ghost stone, the appearance is strange, there is no secret place, bright red is only the ghost blood spent behind, but there are some roots of ghost blood, can supplement chi and blood. But the value of great treasure is precious to hundreds of spiritual stones supplements chi and blood. Spiritual herb, fellow deist. You bought this stone and lost some. After Feng Wei looked at Wei Suo, he said to the bearded cultivator. What, is it worth hundreds of spiritual stones? This red-robed bearded cultivator was dumbfounded. This stone is so strange, there are only a few roots that are worth hundreds of spiritual stones. Many cultivators who were originally prepared to buy the stone are dumbfounded, and many people are curious to remind the bearded to cut open. The depressed red dress bearded cultivator, holding the broken can of the broken heart, slowly cut the stone. I saw that there is nothing else, it is ordinary stone, only 4 or 5 blood red rhizome. Fellow deist is very knowledgeable, exactly the same as fellow deist said. I also spent 3,000 pieces of spiritual stones on this stone. I got it at a secret place auction. I have been in this secret place for more than 30 years. No one can recognize it. Feng's treasurer and wooden dispensers are more respectful of Wei Suo, only when they stay here, they don't know the origin of this stone, and Wei Suo knows from the mouth of green-robed old man that the two are told that the fact is not bad. Following them, there may not be a secret place. Seeing the red robe bearded, the rest of the cultivator is speechless, and I don't dare to buy what Wei Suo and others look at. This is the purple sea stone gall, the juice inside, can solve the poison. This is scarlet horn ginseng, which can be combined with the level 8 mid-level ice monster core to make a high-level spirit pellet. With all the way forward, Feng's treasurer and wooden dispensers are more admired by Wei Suo and become more confident. Wei Suo is also interested in intercourse. These two old treasurers are all inexhaustible, gathering green-robed old man and Ling Longtian. In the knowledge, among the 10 things that Feng's treasurer and the wooden shopkeeper did not know, there are 7 or 8 things that are clearly stated and common. Purple moonstone heart. There is a purple moonstone heart in that stone. When he re-entered the hill and approached the foothills, Ling Longtian found another good thing again. Sound transmission to Wei Suo and green-robed old man was very shocking. Purple moonstone heart. Legend has it that when the ancient world collapsed, there were many comets falling, including a strange purple comet. The star nucleus contained amazing spiritual chi. After the collapse, it was scattered into many purple moon-shaped stones. Each one contains amazing spiritual chi. And it is a lot of origin chi complete. One who is Yandan in general, can make any of the force shift great art cultivator, great treasure increase the cultivation base, is this stone inside, actually have this thing. Green-robed old man heard, and suddenly the wind like great treasure called surging sound. Is there such a thing? Wei Suo also suddenly took a deep breath and immediately followed Ling Longtian's gaze. Knowing the value of such a thing is absolutely no less than divine phoenix stone pellet. It is also a round stone, the naked body is also purple, half of the desktop great treasure is small, and it looks very similar to the 2 virtual purple stone that Wei Suo and Ling Longtian found here yesterday, but when you look closely, you find that this purple is lighter than the purple of the purple stone, and it seems to be faintly revealed from the inside, as if something is shining inside. The price of this stone is not high, only 7,000 downs of spiritual stones. How, fellow deist, what is the origin of this thing? Do you know it? This thing is a small river next to the glaciers in the wilderness. We don't know the mystery. It has been here for more than 5 years. Feng's treasurer and the wooden shopkeeper also immediately saw the change of the gods of Wei Suo and Ling Longtian, and couldn't help but ask for surging sound. This thing, I have to buy it. Wei Suo glanced at the 2 old treasurers and said, if I am not mistaken, there is a purple moonstone heart. Purple moonstone heart, is the legendary one who is Yandan. For the past tens of thousands of years, only Skyfall continent has appeared. In our stone, there is such a thing of rank. The 2 old shopkeepers have changed their faces and exclaimed surging sound. Obviously, they have also seen the record of this thing, knowing the amazing value of this thing. Fellow deist, we have a request that is not lust, we have never seen this thing, can you cut it out and let us see what it is, what kind of thing is it? After the 2 old shopkeepers calmed down slightly, they didn't have much heartache. They took the stone out and handed it to Wei Suo, but they made such a request. This is natural, but it is inconvenient to cut it here. When I let the 2 shopkeepers help identify some of my antiquities, how about splitting? Wei Suo looked at the 2 old treasurers. This strange stone garden can be said to surprise him, and the things that are now obtained from the strange stone garden can add up to his cultivation base. Quick, look ahead. Maybe there are good things. Green-robed old man kept screaming, which was equito to keep on scratching the funding resources, and he was afraid that Wei Suo would be embarrassed to stop. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 921. Chapter 921 is another Interception Day ancient fragrance. This harvest is really rich. It's like taking another sect. Green-robed old man is excited. Kistler Park is here, not cheap. Wei Suo is cheaper, and the things that Kistler Garden collects are all sold at a price. Wei Suo has exactly 2 old antiques like Green-Robed Old Man and Ling Long Tian. Beside it, I got the Great Treasure and Secret Place, which is a rare opportunity for Wei Suo. On the Golden Core, the cultivation base of the cultivator is much better than relying on the opportunity to retreat. This is an opportunity to improve the cultivation base. How could he stop because he wants to intercourse with the 2 old treasurers? After discovering the stone containing the purple moonstone heart, Wei Suo rummaged through every secret place in the garden and never missed it anywhere. At the foot of the hill, Wei Suo bought an amber-like brown ancient jade at the price of 6,000 spiritual stones. This brown ancient jade is a pig-shaped dragon jade, a strange kind of pig-shaped dragon body. The jade stone from the manifestation in the dragon naked body contains a lot of heavenly dragon chi and has a great treasure for the Wei Suo cultivation heavenly dragon star body tempering technique. In a watery grass on the shore of the lake next to the hill, Wei Suo bought a shield-like skeleton with a lot of water-like textures at the price of 10,000 down the price of spiritual stones. This is heavenly water king bone, a skeleton of an unknown animal that can be used to withstand some heavenly tribulation heavenly fire. At the edge of the restrictions on the edge of the garden, an inconspicuous corner, where a grass has grown, Wei Suo bought a turmeric coconut-like fruit at the price of 4,000 spinal stones, shaking it. Like a coconut, there is a water surging sound. This is Tian Xiao Xian Yang. It is only in some islands of the ancient desolate waters. It has the secret fruit. The drug is secretly stealing the golden core, which can enhance the life essence of the golden core 4th layer 5th layer. Even in an eccentric great treasure stone beside a well, Wei Suo and Ling Longtian and green-robed old man found a fragment of true immortal artifact. This is the first half of the shapeshift great art great treasure, and even the era of far exceeds Ling Longtian. It has been completely damaged, without shapeshift great art controls, but essence metal has a great treasure for Ling Longtian. Ling Longtian's cultivation base can be upgraded. For this thing, Wei Suo has only spent 3,000 products on spiritual stones. Among the small courtyards and a flower garden in the garden, Wei Suo and Ling Longtian also found that some of the drugs were insufficient for the golden core cultivator, but the refining was also very fast, which allowed Han Wei and others to quickly upgrade the cultivation base. Spiritual herb, fruit. The desolate grade of the ancient fire monster attribute beast shapeshift in the green seeker silver staff were added to the previous 3 flake of the toadstone. Art beads, contains great treasure quantity water spirit Yuan Qi, equivalent to a level 7 mid-level attribute water core water spirit monster core's great treasure, level 9 ancient desolate, monster beast ice tiger spine, can be made into water spirit root water holy spirit king sword, ancient transmission shapeshift great art array of the main star Lu Tianjing, can be used to impact golden core, such as the void purple stone, Wei Suo and other people. This the harvest of the times is extremely astonishing. The 2 old shopkeepers didn't have much heartache, but they were also very excited, because at least 40 of them didn't know what was coming from Wei Suo. There are a few things that are also great treasure for both. Wei Suo said that after they didn't, both of them immediately closed up. How much compared to this in the Great Treasure Workshop? Is there a lot of unknown great treasures? After visiting the Million Great Treasure Park, Wei Suo immediately inquired about the 2 old treasurers to gamble the Great Treasure Workshop. Gambling the great treasure in the Great Treasure Workshop is mostly something that already understands the purpose, but there is no ups and downs in value, but there is not much unknown. Since G fellow deist is also interested in gambling Great Treasure Workshop, it is better for us to go over it. Anyway, there is a quiet room on the Great Treasure Workshop. It is very convenient. 2 old shopkeepers looked at Wei Suo and asked Wei Suo's for advice. If that's the case, then it would be better. Wei Suo was naturally very happy and nodded immediately. After a short period of time, the 2 old treasurers took Wei Suo and others into the Great Treasure Workshop. Here, The Great Treasure Workshop is a 3-story palace with a wide area. The interior is completely an auction venue. The entrance is a great treasure hall, which can accommodate thousands of cultivators, and the second and third floors are all private rooms with restrictions. There are about 80 cultivators in the Great Treasure Hall at the moment, and there are 500-600 icicles in the Great Treasure Hall. I don't know what material was added to this icicle. It was all black and ink, and I couldn't see the inside. Wei Suo's divine consciousness got in and was immediately bounced out. The great treasure is sealed in the icicles, all of which are priced at 3,000 spinal stones. When 2 old treasurers brought Wei Suo and others into it, there was a Thought Division Realm first layer cultivator that had paid 3,000 for intercourse. The next product, Spiritual Stones, was started by a disciple in Kistler Park, breaking the black icicle he had chosen. Inside the broken black icicle was a bronze medal engraved with a number, and then the cultivator of the Thought Division Realm first layer followed the name of the recipe to the rear secret place. After a dozen breaths, the cultivator of the Thought Division Realm first layer returned directly to the Great Treasure Workshop on the intercourse. This guy got a Spirit Shift Great Art Shield from the Spirit Rank Middle Grade. Ling Longtian looked at Wei Suo with great depth and sound transmission into his ear. Wei Suo couldn't help but roll one's eyes. Spirit Rank Middle Grade's Ice Shape Shift Great Art Shield at the auction was definitely more than 3,000 products of spiritual stones. No wonder the cultivator intercourse of the Thought Division Realm first layer. He did not expect that the black icicles were only numbered bronze, and the great treasure was stored in other places. It was taken according to the bronze number. This lust shape, together with the 2 old shopkeepers, Wei Suo also suddenly had no interest in great treasure, said a few words to the 2 old treasurers, so that they have something unidentified to use directly. After letting him see it, let the 2 old treasurers bring them into a great treasure quiet room on the 3rd floor. This thing, the 2 old treasurers don't know if they don't know. After sitting down on the wooden great treasure chair with thick fur, Wei Suo had no nonsense, and took out a pair of long-eyed great treasure beads. The pair of long-eyed great treasures are silvery white, like pearls, without any pattern on the surface, but they are swaying with the strange origin chi fluctuations, like some shapeshift great art, and the powerful energy seems to be very extraordinary. And by breath, it should be something thousands of years ago. This thing was discovered by Wei Suo from the hidden treasure house of Sky Sword section. No one knows the purpose. This, the 2 old treasurers picked up 2 beads and looked at them. Fellow deist, if the old is not wrong, these 2 should be the antennas of Tianxian Ancient. After a while, the wooden dispensers definitely said to Wei Suo, "Oh, I would like to hear the details." Wei Suo and Ling Longtian looked at each other and said, "This is a shapeshift great art device like the primordial spirit light. For help, the 2 beads are separated and entrained. If a cultivator is in distress and smashes the bead, another bead on another cultivator will also break. The secret place of this object is that the sensing distance is extremely amazing, which can be sensed by a great treasure." The wooden dispenser looked at Wei Suo. "The downside is that unlike some of the ancient sects shapeshift great art, you can perceive this sect disciple in a distressed or murdered naked body location." "Oh. Thank you for your wood cabinet." Wei Suo's gaze, "The thought of these 2 beads is also useful. When I put one on Jia, when there is something urgent, directly smashing one, he will know immediately. The thing that looks like a vine is bought by my 5,000 spiritual stones. I don't know if there is any mystery." After the 2 inductive beads were removed, Wei Suo took the cut from the auction, and the naked body was seen in the purple body, but the material that could not be seen was taken out and the 2 old treasurers were ordered. In front of Feng treasurer and wooden dispensers looked at it for a while, then Feng Zhang took out a piece of red jade and put it on the ancient trees. The red jade glowed green. "This is an ancient trees, but we have not seen it. I don't know the origin and function." After Feng Xiao said this, after seeing Wei Suo looking at the red jade he had taken out, he was surprised. He explained, "In the next one, it is a wooden jade." If it is a spirit wood, it will emit green light. Is it an ancient trees? Wei Suo's brow furrowed, and couldn't help but think of the young man in Huai. The young man in Huai got the heritage of deserty race and learned a lot about ancient desolate. If he caught the man's words, he might be able to get from him. Learn what this is. This should be a fragment of a shapeshift great art, great treasure in ancient times. There is a cipher text on it. I don't know if the two treasurers have studied these ancient ciphers. After a slight indulgence, Wei Suo took the piece of mixed gold that was obtained from Lin Fenghua and had dozens of squares, almost filling the top of the most great treasure compartment. SS. The two old treasurers also took a breath of air. Is this the legend of the ancient immortal artifact? We don't have much research on this kind of cipher text, but we know a senior who is called the Rogue Cultivator for 10 days. There is a lot of research on this kind of cipher text. The two old treasurers just glanced at it and said immediately. 10 days, what is the origin? This person is a temperamental rogue cultivator. It collects a lot of things about the ancient cipher text. It is very research. We have only heard of some of this person's deeds. I haven't met. Where is this person? Rogue cultivator, I don't know. It was only a few decades ago that there was a cultivation base for the golden core 4th layer late stage. Previously, Zhang Sun aristocratic family seemed to have unraveled an ancient cipher text because of something. The wooden treasurer said. This is the condensate grass, divine sea realms cultivator taking refining, can great treasure to enhance the path of cultivation natural talent. This is the tourmaline, which can cope with the physical and golden core failure caused by the transition consumption of true yuan. This is Tongtianko, which can be used to dispel the origin chi that is not in itself in the naked body. It can be unravel a lot of origin chi restrictions. The two old treasurers have a better understanding of the many spiritual herbs and things in the cultivation world for nearly 1,000 years, but they are beyond green-robed old man and Ling Longtian. Many Wei Suo are from 7 Great Treasure Secret Place and Sky Sword section. The unidentified spiritual herb was recognized by both and told Wei Suo. Under the Wei Suo eyes flash, the ancient fragrance left by the heaven-transcending Great Emperor was also taken out. Gee, fellow deist, do you actually have such a strange ancient fragrance? Have you seen this strange ancient fragrance? The answer of the two old treasurers was to surprise Wei Suo and Ling Longtian both. You shouldn't be our cut, you have only one section, it should be one of them. Our section is much longer than this. There are 2 sections. It should be one of the secret places. After the two old shopkeepers glanced at each other, they all spoke and Wei Suo explained, we acquired such a strange ancient fragrance at a rogue cultivator booth more than 10 years ago. It is also extremely extraordinary, but fundamentally unclear origins and uses. Now are you intercepting ancient fragrance? Ling Longtian was shocked and asked directly. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 922. Chapter 922. Our section of ancient fragrance was bought by a young man. The wooden dispensers looked at Ling Longtian and replied. Buy it? What is the origin of the young man? Wei Suo's brows and jumps. The great treasure and the immortal great emperor are the true supreme of the tens of thousands of years of repairing the road. If you listen to these two old treasurers, the complete ancient fragrance should be more than 3 paragraphs. Ancient fragrance is likely to get the inheritance of the great treasure of the night. If this is the case, then every piece of ancient fragrance is different. The inheritance of the great treasure of the Tongyushan is definitely beyond the inheritance of the desolate race great treasure from the vain and the young people of Huai. Because of the emptiness of the Ling Longtian and the desolate race great treasure, it can be the venerable emperor. The level character and the great treasure of the overnight treasure of Supreme also have to find insurmountable levels. The origin of the young man we don't know and should be changed with the shapeshift great art. In the 8 years ago, I bought the ancient fragrance. The cultivation base that should be the golden core second layer at the time seems to be Blackbird Great Treasure Cultivator. The wooden dispensers then replied. Black Great Treasure Cultivator? Doesn't he have any special secret place even if his true content doesn't know? Wei Suo and Ling Longtian's brows are wrinkled and Black Great Treasure is far away from other great treasures. If you buy Ancient Fragrances Cultivator, it's really Black Great Treasure Cultivator that is really great treasure. Hay needles are generally extremely difficult to find. The man who did the skill of the shapeshift great art was a little distorted when some of the strange light hit him. The rest of the words, at first, I only passed the ordinary black leather robe and you have almost no special secret place. After the wood dispensers, I couldn't help but ask, how does fellow deist look at you? Do you seem to know some of the origins of this ancient fragrance? This ancient fragrance is based on the inheritance of an ancient super great treasure. It's just a naked body. We don't know. Wei Suo didn't hide too much from the two old shopkeepers. I don't know if the ancient fragrance will infer any mystery. It turned out to be the inheritance of ancient super great treasure. The two old shopkeepers were very sorry when they were slightly stunned. Unfortunately, our interception of ancient fragrance is no longer there. This kind of ancient fragrance may be a great cultivator. It may be to great treasure. If it is circulated, it may cause trouble. I hope the two treasurers will keep me secret. Wei Suo is serious. I will naturally understand that fellow deist is relieved that there is nothing in fellow deist that we can't go out. The two old treasurers have promised. There is no such thing as the two old treasurers have seen. Wei Suo nodded slightly and indulged himself with true yuan. We have never seen such a thing. Members hit ==. Both shopkeepers shook their heads. I don't know what kind of amazing origins of this kind of milky white wood chips. This kind of thing is from a piece of ancient to a treasure of great treasure. If you know the shapeshift great art of refining, you can use it to cultivate. Wei Suo looked at the two old shopkeepers. There is a thing that is not lust. If the two shopkeepers see something that contains the strange water spirit Yuan Qi in the future, or how to keep it for me. As long as G fellow deist often visits, this is fine. The two old treasurers glanced at each other and smiled and laughed. The richness of the story of fellow deist makes us unheard of. I often talk to Kyrgyz fellow deist intercourse and it is a great success. If that's the case, thank you to the two treasurers. Wei Suo and two old shopkeeper and intercourse talked for a while after two old shopkeeper and took out a number of things to let him help look at these. Several things have two Ling Longtian and green-robed older man see the history of. The other few also don't know but recognize to Wei Suo and Ling Longtian and other people also have no use secret place. And a few words after Wei Suo and Purple Moonstone cut to two old shopkeeper to see a bit. After that, he left the two old shopkeepers and sent him to the great treasure door of Kistler Park. Damn swindler, what do you want to do? Out of the strange stone garden swept to the city of secret place. No one. Wei Suo both hands. A move is to play a mist like Sinorama then attached to his face on the whole person's breath also for one of the whole person's appearances. And that name got desolate race. The young people of China have become exactly the same. And even the smell of the body has 80% similar. If Ling Longtian's perception is different from the ordinary person, it is certainly not to see the difference. Wei Suo hand a grasp and took out a colorful also some gorgeous multicolored shapeshift great art clothes wearing a sneer at a surging sound look. Ling Longtian explained, anyway to find Huangpu aristocrat I see family trouble and then very likely to provoke to Yuhua aristocratic family these super great treasure forces. Just let this guy help us take the blame. Can also borrow these powerful family will be this person's whereabouts forced out. Damn swindler, you are getting more and more insidious now. Ling Longtian sharpening teeth. It's okay anyway, this face is much more pleasing to your face. Mother's death, steel teeth. Younger sister, are you itchy? Wei Suo suddenly rolled one's eyes and shouted. How do you want to fight one? Also, who is itchy? Ling Longtian heavily stunned. A surging sound. Learn more when you have time. Wei Suo had such a heart but was a little surprised to see that Ling Longtian's posture should be a lot of strength and it would be a bit guilty if it was called Ling Longtian. But now Ling Longtian is a look of no fear. So Ling Longtian swallowed the restaurant essence metal to increase the speed of the cultivation base is also very amazing. It seems that not only the desolate race, but the spirit race itself is also very embarrassing. It seems that the original repair road is also because of spirit race and some tops. Great treasure can balance each other with the desolate race, or one side has long been on the entire repair road. Now, the stronger the training base of Ling Longtian is, the more favorable it is for him. Take us first to the people who will meet the Huangpu aristocratic family after becoming a young man in Huai. Wei Suo gave orders to Long Muxing. His great treasure by shapeshift great art is almost invisible as long as it is displayed. Divine light is disguised as a young man. It is extremely similar to the accident. It is destined to make the god of the god's secret place back a great treasure. Black Pot. According to Long Muxing, Yahuaruoxing was originally waiting in Blackwood City for their intercourse ancient emperor corpse. The city of Blackwood is the great treasure of the western great treasure city. The power of the Yahua aristocratic family spreads throughout the cold great treasure, so the west is Wei Suo and Ling Longtian decided to find the Huangpu aristocratic family first and then saw if there was any chance to grab the primal Chaosian Ox great treasure. After all, the Samsara tower that divine mystic fifth layer great treasure can leave is definitely more important than the primal Chaosian Ox great treasure. Long Muxing is not yet aware of Wei Suo's true identity, but after Wei Suo and the God's secret place Huai young people's battle to see Wei Suo and God's secret place young people are almost completely invisible but powerful energy extremely terrifying amazing divine ability. After that, Wei Suo was afraid of dying and did not dare to have any violations and no nonsense to take the road to Immortal Restricting City. Immortal Restricting City, a great treasure between the central region and the east. This great treasure city has an extraordinary history. Before 30,000 years ago, the great treasure has a super great sect called Berry Zone, and the mountain gate was built in the city. More than 1,000 years later, it became a cold day. Great treasure number 1 sect. Later, Bateson for a variety of reasons after thousands of years, but the city is left behind a strong restrictions in the urban area of the dozens of Bingfeng and the ground are restrictions and now in this town can fight shapeshift great art buildings built on Bingfeng and on the ground in the city can be broken but Bingfeng and the ground are shapeshift great art shakes. The reason why the city was later called Immortal Restricting City was that many of the predecessors of the Great Treasure were able to test and then fear that only the true immortal cultivator shapeshift great art powerful energy could damage the ice peaks and the ground in the city. This Immortal Restricting City means that the existence of the true immortal level is forbidden in the city. It is not a good place for the true immortal level. But this is true. True immortal has not appeared in 1,000 years. If true immortal really wants to fight shapeshift great art in the city, no one can stop it. And the reason to find Huangpu aristocratic family trouble place in the city is because Huangpu aristocratic family and True Thunder sect. I am afraid there is a connection between the union and the city is located in True Thunder sect. The edge of the Huangpu aristocratic family is also not near the location is excellent and this immortal restricting city also has several great treasure core and the foreign spiritual herb intercourse easy market. Huangpu aristocratic family people often appear in the city shopping. On the way, as long as there is no secret place Wei Suo, take out the water attribute monster core and water attribute spiritual herb refining that he helped him. After 3 days, the water attribute monster core and the water attribute spiritual herb that Kondan Fong helped him collected were all refining. Next, he took the purple moonstone heart and the pig longjia from the Kistler garden and started to refining. The most great treasure of the food is still my own. A few days later, Wei Suo, who was on a flat place above the flat ice sheet, issued a long sigh of surging sound. At this time, purple moonstone heart and pig po long yu have also been completely refining. Purple moonstone heart is a purple moon-shaped purple stone cut from the purple stone in the nucleus of the star. But after cutting the stone skin of the purple stone, there is a heart-shaped crystal stone spiritual chi. Extremely amazing. The Wei-Suo refining effect of this thing is completely more than the divine phoenix stone pellets. Enhancement of the cultivation base is at least equivalent to 2 divine phoenix stone pellet. The heavenly dragon chi among the pigs and dragons is at least equivalent to 1/3 of a heavenly dragon skeleton. But after breaking into double divine mystic, his naked body is like a bottomless pit. If he divides his cultivation base from divine mystic first layer to divine mystic second layer into 10, then refining the 5000 from Ning Dan Fang, he has only passed one of the water attribute monster core and other purple moonstone hearts. Even so, many amazing origin chi just made him upgrade the cultivation base from divine mystic first layer to divine mystic second layer. The pig chi of the pig, and the to cultivate heavenly dragon star body tempering technique also improved his meat body, but his meat was stronger. The next more demand for origin chi is the more great treasure. The cultivation base above divine mystic is really an amazing resource for every step. I don't know how to make such a consumption. Divine mystic second layer, the existing spiritual stones and shapeshift great art great treasure on his hands costs 7,780. No wonder a super great sect can make a divine mystic great treasure. It can be extremely difficult. I don't know how many spiritual stones to use. No wonder a great treasure resource can only support so many divine mystic great treasures in an era. After Asai, Wei-Suo, and Ling Longtian and Long Muxing continued to move forward. After a few days, a great treasure city with a glorious glory appeared in their sight. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 923. Chapter 923 deals with itself. This is Lonely Cold Continent's famous immortal restricting city. WAP. The size of the city is even more striking than the Emerald City. The mountains and the ground to the secret place. The transparent divine splendor is built on top of the houses and halls that are denser and denser than the Emerald City. And in order to facilitate some of the low-grade cultivator without flying power, there are many ice bridges with huge great treasures between the ice peaks. And this is the morning when many cultivator out of the city and saw the city as if a giant great treasure hive. In addition to many cultivator escape light flying out, there are all kinds of obvious is the city, caravan of the middle great treasure flying dun shapeshift great art device fly out of the huge great treasure sailing boat has none such towed great treasure car even have up to 10 jong inside hollow deo venerable appearance of fei dun shap e shift great art device. This made both Wei-Suo and Ling Longtian feel very novel and couldn't help but stop outside the city for a moment to see what this ordinary city can't see. The city's resident cultivator of this size has millions of lights. The cultivator is a huge treasure. The daily consumption is already amazing and the city is the intercourse of many caravans and cities. Treasures transfer station, so the amount of various goods in and out is unusually amazing. After watching it for a while, Wei-Suo nodded to Long Muxing and Long Muxing continued to take the road. On the outskirts of Immortal Restricting City there is an ice wall of up to 230 feet. But this kind of wall is absolutely fascinating for most cultivators. After passing through the peripheral ice wall and entering the Immortal Restricting City, Wei-Suo and Ling Longtian saw it more clearly. The Immortal Restricting City was a lively market with secret treasure, great treasure. The secret place is the ruins of the Japanese worship. It's just that there are no buildings left, and the current buildings are built later. Long Muxing is also very pleased to point out a hilltop in the Immortal Restricting City central region. The hill is more than a few times more than the other mountains. But the top of the mountain naked body has been split into several pieces and it is obviously shocked by what the giant treasure powerful energy. And the hill is now full of various buildings. There are several marketplaces with many cultivators in it. In this kind of city, it should also be able to collect a lot of resources needed for culture. This is an arrangement similar to the town's restrictions. However, this restrictions is much more powerful than the ordinary township restrictions. I can't break it. It seems that this worshipped Japanese sect did have some unspeakable characters. Wei-Suo and Ling Longtian's eyes flashed in the dark intercourse. Talking to Long Muxing was ahead of the ice wall of a giant great treasure in the secret place market. Hand starter. Heavenly profound continent's western heavens dome also broke 2 markets and destroyed 2 cities. After a moment in front of this giant great treasure ice wall, Wei Suo and Ling Longtian couldn't help but look at each other. This giant great treasure ice wall is one of the most great treasure bulletin boards in this immortal restricting city. According to the previous good, Jia and others have already passed a lot of news through the caravans and decided by Wei Suo and Jia. Only the cipher text they can understand can be left on this bulletin board. Now the news from Jia and others is that they have nothing to worry about, but heavenly profound continent's western heavens dome has split 2 great treasure ports. Previously only the northern part heavens dome rips are now even the west heavens dome has broken 2 consecutive mouths. The heavenly profound continent's heavens dome is as precarious as the 4 secret places. According to this situation, heavenly profound continent's heavens dome may even completely collapse at any time, and the rest of the great treasure's heavens dome must be at most a few years apart. I don't think it's just a secret place. In such a raging era, is it really a mess? True immortal. Am I the kind of person who came into being, Wei Suo sighs. I told you that I have never seen a face, but I have never seen you so much. Ling Longtian immediately scorned the irony. Die steel teeth younger sister, you, Wei Suo is very speechless. I feel like a generation of divine mystic great treasure. I was immediately hit by the steel teeth younger sister. That is the Hui family's Lu Jin and the Huangpu aristocratic family. Many younger generations have intercourse lust. The seniors followed him who might soon find the Huangpu aristocratic family. Suddenly at this time long muxing sound transmission to the ears of Wei Suo and Ling Longtian. Where is it? Wei Suo immediately looked around and was asking with sound transmission. It's the golden core cultivator in the feathers. Long muxing answered quickly. Such a Wei Suo and Ling Longtian suddenly locked the target. A young cultivator in a white feather coat is walking from the side of the back toward the front market and exuding a cyan spiritual chi condensed narcissus-like phantom. It seems to be a second ancestor. Ling Longtian sharpening teeth licked a surging sound. This young cultivator face white as jade. Long also calculate handsome. A feather clothing is completely with thin and fluffy feathers made and rank not low. Exudes soft spirit light is very fairy rhyme like body wearing a great treasure regiment brocade general. But the young man's look is somewhat arrogant or frivolous, or it seems that people are unscrupulous or sometimes reveals disdain. What is the origin of this Hui family? Wei Suo shook his head and transmitted the sound to Long Muxing Seer. To be honest, the approachable people he has ever seen don't want to kill the cultivator of the great treasure. 10 of them are rogue cultivator. Many of the cultivators who have originated from the great sect and the great treasure are born with a high level of superiority. The cultivator is listed in the same position. And most of the great treasures of the rogue cultivator are very afraid of these background characters, which further encourages these people's chi flame to make these people's eyes even higher. Hui family is a path of cultivation that is closest to immortal restricting city. There is a total of 4 golden core cultivators in the 2 generations. Long muxing is very detailed. Hui family's owner is the cultivator of golden core second layer. This person has an uncle who just broke through the golden core. Soon he has a 3rd brother. According to Hui family, the best talent of natural talent has been repaired for nearly 500 years. Golden core second layer. Hui family mainly has a few Lingyuan plants to plant some medicines to refine spirit pellet. Let's follow this guy and see. Wei Suo nodded the sound transmission to Long Muxing and Ling Longtian to keep up the surging sound color. This secret place market is very lively. There are many shops next to the great treasure city. Many places have many transit warehouses with other city banks. After the Hui Jin passed through the great treasure half market, it walked toward the 3-story building of a secret place. What is this jade flame house? Wei Suo sound transmission asked Long Muxing. The 3-story pavilion is also carved out of the ice, but I don't know what to add to the naked body. Green is like a jasper. There is a gold sign on the jade flame house with 3 great treasure words. This is a shop specializing in Jade Flame Brew. Jade Flame Brew is a very good cup of spiritual chi equivalent with a few kinds of grasses. The 2 spiritual stones are also sold under the price of 2 spiritual stones. Long muxing saying with sound transmission. Wei Suo's ear refining speed is similar to spiritual stones, but it is natural to spread without the need to use true yuan refining. So many cultivators are interested in intercourse gathering here to have a few cups of chat. Oh. Wei Suo and Ling Longtian did not have much to follow Hui Jin into the pavilion. The whole floor was almost packed. Hui Jin went to the second floor and sat down at the window. Waiting for Wei Suo and Ling Longtian, Long Muxing went to the second floor. Hui Jin scanned the 3 people and looked at the great treasure. However, it was a little disdainful and I didn't look back. The 3 guests don't know how many Jade Flame Brews are coming. Wei Suo and others just sat down at the corner of the table and immediately there was a greeting from the plain-looking Xingyi girl who came to the hot lust. How many of these 2 pots are there? Wei Suo just clicked on the table next to the table and the 2 cultivators on the table were asking for 2 pots to be slowly drinking. The pot is 10 cups, the girl in Xingyi replied immediately. That's the first 2 pots. Wei Suo smiled slightly. He is also a bit curious to try this Jade Flame Brew. Is there any strange secret place? The heavenly profound continent's Wei surname cultivator is really shocking and stunning. Actually, Double Divine Mystic is estimated that the general cultivator of Divine Mystic second layer is not his opponent. Unfortunately, it has fallen. I guess it is also according to that person's Double Divine Mystic can play 2 Dao technique shapeshift great art at the same time. Isn't this equivalent to 2 Divine Mystic cultivators? At this time, Wei Suo and Ling Longtian were slightly stunned because many of the cultivators on the second floor were just talking about him with great interest. His fame has actually passed through Cloud Spirit Continent and it has arrived at Lonely Cold Continent. He's probably the most shocking and stunning genius cultivator for thousands of years, a rough cultivator wearing a grey shapeshift great art size at a table at the stairway. It's just that there are a few pieces to the great treasure just now. Just a few pots of Jade Flame Brews. Hui Jin was near a surging sound. Without a few pieces to great treasure, I am afraid he is nothing. This fellow Daoist seems to have said it. Even if he doesn't use anything, Double Divine Mystic is a battle strength heaven shaking and even a super sect of heavenly profound continent is leveled off by him. A green robe cultivator couldn't help it. It's not because there were a few different great treasures that have caught a lot of secret places. Hui Jin sneered and said, if there are a few different great treasures, I am more than amazing at this moment. This person is Huijia's 6 sons, and he is not willing to listen to others. He is stronger than him, don't provoke him easily. Many cultivators on the second floor recognized Hui Jin. But those different great treasures are not born with him from the mother's stomach. He has different great treasure. Why are others not? However, there are 2 cultivators who are very disgusted with this gesture and can't help but surging sound. The air can be chaotic. We can also decide that we are better than him but that it is not someone else to level a super sect with one person. How do you even want to mock me? Hui Jin suddenly watched the 2 cultivators sneer. If you want this kind of waste, you don't want to measure it yourself. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 924. Chapter 924 Secretly Ghosts. The 2 cultivators are all discolored. How, if you are not convinced, we can try it. If you don't dare, you don't have to talk nonsense. Hui Jin looked at the 2 cultivators with a disdain, poured a cup of Jade Flame Brew that had just been sent, and slowly drank it. It's a pity that the man died too early. Let me lose sight of him, and he will personally the chance to defeat. The faces of the 2 cultivators are arrogant, but from the point of view of the costumes, both cultivators are just rogue cultivators, and a cultivation base of the Thought Division Realm first layer, a cultivation base of the Thought Division Realm second layer, cultivation. The base is too far apart from Huijin, so there is some anger and dare not speak. This guy is too arrogant. I didn't mean anything when I came out directly. Wei Suo slammed a surging sound against Ling Longtian and released a divine consciousness pressure, pressing a cultivator in one corner. The cultivator is only the cultivation base of the heavenly circuit realm, 4th layer, 40 years old, and the squirrel, wearing a shiny gray leather gown, looks very poorly mixed, only 2 cups of jade flame brew, and still reluctant to drink, slowly look like that. Shua. The cultivator of the squirrel was pressed by Wei Suo's invisible divine consciousness pressure, and suddenly fell into the ice, slamming the surging sound, sliding down from the chair, and sitting on the ground with a slap. This cultivator on the 2nd floor was suddenly attracted by such a change. Huijin looked away and saw that the cultivator of this taro was pale and very pustulous. Look like. Don't look at it. If you want to live, just follow my words and say, challenge this person. When I wait, I will naturally protect you. I can also give you a great treasure, otherwise, you should be able to feel it. Out of my cultivation base, I want to kill you. It's easy at this time. Wei Suo sound transmission to the ear of the cultivator. The cultivator, which was originally looked at in awe-inspiring eyes, suddenly trembled and so trembled. Hung. Huijin also took a look at the cultivator for this purpose. So it was this way, and I couldn't help but feel more proud. I felt that I was really unmatched. This person is really like the appearance, the pustule is extremely. The rest of the cultivator on the 2nd floor shook his head in secret, and felt that the cultivator of the gimmick was really bad. I think you are also a waste, it will only blow the great treasure. Just golden core 1st layer cultivation base, I dare to say that defeating divine mystic great treasure can be a mouse pat on the chest, and said that the cat can be dried up in the future. But let everyone, including Huijin, who is very proud of lifting the glass, remember that the cultivator, which looks bad and has a bad taste, is screaming and screaming. Xiashuoid? That's good, just by this sentence, I can give you a spirit rank under the spirit rank. Wait until you say more great treasure surging sound, I will give you a spirit rank middle grade great treasure. At this time, Wei Suo smiled slightly, and the sound transmission went to the ear of the cultivator, in which the vest was completely smothered by cold sweat. You say what? After Huijin had a few breaths, he reacted and his eyes were unbelievable. This kind of cultivator actually dared to jump out and say this. I, the head of the scorpion, the grey leather robes full of shiny cultivator swayed, but immediately called the great treasure surging sound. I said that you are simply a mouse pat on the chest, saying that you can dry the cat in the future. Later, the cat was dead, but after hearing the phrase of the mouse, he smiled alive and laughed. The eyeball almost fell off the ground. Does this person have such a daring? It's really impossible for people to look at each other. The rest of the cultivators on the 2nd floor are unbelievable. The ordinary Tsingyi and the niece who gave Wei Suo and Ling Longtian and Long Muxing to Jade Flame Brew were dumbfounded. The cultivator of this squirrel is very funny, but none of these cultivators laughed. You are tired, Huijin took a deep breath, coldly watching the cultivator of the squirrel. A cold killing intent exuded from his body. That's not there. I see you are arbitrarily arrogant, arrogantly forgetting what you are, but it may be alive. The cultivator of the squirrel was straight to the neck, and the words that Wei Suo passed to him were called out. Follow me outside, otherwise I will kill you directly here. I also met people from the Huangpu aristocratic family to meet here and didn't want to smudge the place. Huijin Huoran stood up and glanced at the cultivator of the squirrel without a table lust. The cultivator of the squirrel, when he heard the words of Huangpu aristocratic family, shook his body, and there was a cold sweat on his forehead. For a moment, he had a great treasure and could not tell the words that Wei Suo had passed to him. Why, I feel that I am not enough to force myself to press the people. Would you like to lift the Huangpu aristocratic family to press people? Wei Suo saw a surging sound, deliberately not yin and yang. Is there anyone who dares to show up? The eyes of all the cultivators on the second floor were gathered in Wei Suo and others. You are who? Wei Jin also couldn't see Wei Suo's cultivation base, but Wei Suo made the appearance of the young man in Huai, and it seemed to have some secret place. He didn't dare to deal with the cultivator of the squirrel. I am who? Wait until you have to deal with him. Wei Suo smiled and said the cultivator for the purpose of the squirrel. You are crazy. Wei Jin facial expression has changed, but more let his face become ugly is, this time Pantos's cultivator is Wei Suo with divine consciousness pressure secretly again after the pressure, and the end of the call up, go, just you this kind of goods, also dare great treasure speech not ashamed in the future to challenge the great treasure land divine mystic great treasure I can beat you mouthful of mud. Pa. Then the cultivator of the squirrel, directly pushes open the window and jumps from the window. Haha, Wei Suo smiled and didn't go downstairs. He went to the window and looked like a movie. Does this person have a secret place great treasure that can compete against the golden core great treasure cultivator? It's impossible to do it. Wei family has a more powerful golden core cultivator for the cultivation base. Seeing this scene, many cultivators on the second floor have all gone downstairs and are ready to watch. Wei Jin, who was gloomy and stunned, glanced at Wei Suo and immediately swept down from the window, standing opposite the cultivator of the squirrel. A lot of cultivators around the time found that this secret place had a fight, and they all came together. After discovering that one of them was the golden core cultivator, they didn't dare to get too close, forming a circle with about 300 feet. How dare this person challenge a golden core great treasure cultivator? Isn't that rogue cultivator often on the rogue cultivator market in the east? How dare he confront the golden core great treasure cultivator? Does he want to find death? The cultivator of heavenly circuit realm 4th layer, looks so cumbersome, so bad. If the golden core great treasure cultivator will be defeated in this person's hands, it's better not to crash into one. Isn't this the 6 sons of Hui family? After seeing the two sides, almost all the cultivators around are incredible. Next year, today is your jealous day. Hui Jin's breath rose wildly, and a narcissus-like phantom of condensed swayed, like a living thing, and looked very fascinating. The cultivator of the bristles has a shield that is unmanned. Semi-spirit rank Xianbing shield? What is the use of this rotten goods offering, and also want to resist the golden core cultivator? Many people are stunned. The shield he gave is semi-transparent, like a piece of round ice. It is just a half spirit of the spirit rank that can be bought from the secret place. Go to hell. Hui Jin sneered, reaching for a stroke, a little blue brilliance condensed in front of him. How can this be blocked? Many of the cultivators above the Thought Division Realm 3 4th layer can't help but shake their heads. They see that this is Hui families cannot be passed on secret, which is the powerful great treasure of heaven level mid-level. And the divine consciousness pressure issued by Hui Jin at the moment is all pressing the cultivator of the squirrel, and there is no hands-on taming. Formidably on the second floor of the Jade Flame House, there seems to be some people who admire Hui Jin's Dao technique. But letting all the onlookers' cultivator eyes suddenly bulge, the cultivator of the bristles was not killed by a single blow. Pu. Hui Jin's water blue brilliance in front of him, has not completely condensed, even suddenly collapsed and scattered, HP's entire body naked body also shocked, as if true UN control system is poor, the failure is the same. At this time, the cultivator of the bristles was able to return to the gods and hit a bone spear. Hui Jin reached for a stroke, and a cyan ray of light spurted out of the mouth. Golden core sunlight. The second floor of the Jade Flame House has been stunned. Pu Hui Jin's cyan Ziyagwang in the mouth is suddenly unable to control, collapse and scattered. Pa. The bone spear of the cultivator, which was hit by the cultivator, hit Hai Jin all at once, and Hui Jin turned over several times. The white feather coat was not broken, but the mouth was squirting. Blood comes out. No, is this all possible with true UN control? Even the golden core sunlight is not controlled. What is the golden core cultivator? Wei Suo is on the second floor window and is pretending to be surging sound road. Pa. Hui Jin, who was beaten upside down, was mad and seemed to want to fight back, but it seemed to be a sigh of anger, and was beaten by the bone lance of the cultivator of the bristles, and he fell to the ground. This time the injury was heavier, and some of them could not climb at the moment. Na didn't even have a cultivator of heavenly circuit 4th layer. This bone spear seems to be less than spirit rank. What on earth is going on here? No matter how bad it is, it will not be so bad. All the onlookers of the cultivator are unimaginable to see such a sight. I am not dead. I really didn't die. Woo 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 woo. And let these onlookers cultivator couldn't help but swallow the mouth. After the cultivator of the bristles smashed Hui Jin, it turned out to be a sneak peek at himself and see if he was intact. Cried great treasure cried. What the hell are you? Is it your ghost? Hui Jin finally climbed up from the ground, swallowed 2 healing medicine pill, and trembled and looked at Wei Suo on the second floor of Jade Flame House, screaming loud great treasure. The cultivator of the squirrel can kill him, but every time he applies it, he is interrupted by a powerful energy. He is vomiting blood by the cultivator of the bristles, and the cultivator around the cultivator and the bristles. The reaction is even more irritating to vomit blood again. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 925. Chapter 925. Your grandfather author. No pop-up window, 10,000 book fans are online at the same time. Chasing the Book Network. This post was last edited by Fenjiun 228 at 2011-12-217:23. What the hell? Wei Suo glared at a wine glass and looked at the grey-faced face. Hui Jin, who was so angry that he vomited blood, smiled a little. The golden core great treasure cultivator that even the cultivator of heavenly circuit realm 4th layer can't beat is really rare. I really admire it. This jade flame brew has been tried. It should be made from more than 10 kinds of spicy herbs. Spiritual chi will slowly emanate in the naked body, but some impurities will remain in the naked body. If taken for a long time, it will be somewhat unfavorable. Is it what the person did secretly? The eyes of all the cultivators gathered on Wei Suo's. This guy is not someone who has just been saying something powerful. There are several cultivators who can't help but swear. You. Hui Jin's naked body shivered. What are you? Do you not help yourself, and what kind of Huangpu aristocratic family you want to bring out to scare me? Wei Suo haha smiled. It's really scaring me. You wait. Hui Jin's face was blue and white, and finally he threw a swearing words and turned and left. I am not dead. I really didn't die. At this time, the cultivator of the squirrel is still bursting with tears. Okay, don't be so mad, just sit upstairs and watch a movie. There is me, no one can hurt you. Half hair. Wei Suo sound transmission in the ear of this cultivator is after a nap, and it is reflected that if I run now, I might be unloaded by the Hui family's great treasure, or will be squashed in the secret place of God. It was safe, so I immediately ran back into the Jade Flame House. What is the identity of this person, who dared to teach the Hui family, and did not move the surging sound color to make Hui Jin vomit blood? Hui Jin is also alive, too shameless. If heavenly profound continent, the Wei surnamed cultivator is still alive, how dare he say that? Izuyo points. Almost all cultivators have already seen Wei Suo secretly doing ghosts. Guess the origin of Wei Suo's the fellow deist. If you want to leave, this person will definitely not give up. Many of the Jade Flame House's cultivators, which are not familiar with Hui Jin, especially the 2 cultivators that were dumped by Hui Jin, also secretly gave Wei Suo sound transmission and let Wei Suo leave. Rest assured. How many people come from their Hui family? I will let them become a dead dog and give you a guess. Wei Suo smiled a little. In his conversation with Hui Jin, he deliberately mentioned the Huangpu aristocratic family. He felt that Hui Jin should be provocative, and the person who brought the Huangpu aristocratic family came here. After half an hour, there was a sudden commotion on the Great Treasure Road on the outside of Jade Flame House. The smell of a strong great treasure was fluctuating, approaching Jade Flame House, and obviously many powerful characters came. Hui Tianqing is here. Hui family 500 years of natural talent. The best genius disciple is also in immortal restricting city. The young cultivator is probably miserable. Hui Tianqing, but at the age of 30, the talented person of Golden Core is born. And who is that? It seems that the cultivation base is not lower than Hui Tianqing. It is Huangpu Tianxi, the master of the Huangpu aristocratic family, and the great treasure cultivator of the Golden Core second layer. Huangpu aristocratic family doesn't know how many years of experience. The younger generation has a lot of Golden Core cultivator. A group of 10 young cultivators came to the fore, and the more than a dozen young cultivators looked very luxurious, and Hui Jin, who was very gloomy, was also among them. The most conspicuous one was wearing a water green shapeshift great art, and a young man wearing a pale gold shapeshift great art suit was held in the middle by the rest of the luxurious young stars. The young man in the water green shapeshift great art dress is like a white jade, with a pair of cold eyes and a pair of triangular eyes. The body of spiritual chi forms a fierce green giant treasure behind him. This person is Hui family's most outstanding genius cultivator, Hui Tianqing in 500 years. Another young man wearing a pale gold shapeshift great art suit looks ordinary. His face is square, and there is nothing spiritual chi on his body, but every step of the way, the manifestation is a group of clean white clouds, which looks like a fairy walking. It looks more natural than the ordinary cultivator, and looks very cold. This young cultivator is the Huangpu Tianxi of the younger generation of Huangpu aristocratic family. Sure enough, I found the people of Huangpu aristocratic family. This guy is the best genius cultivator of natural talent in the 500 years of Hui family. This group of high-spirited, imposing young people has arrived. Wei Suo has long been aware of it. Dual attribute spiritual roots cultivator. To his slight surprise, Hui Tianqing's unique water spirit chi and spiritual chi interest is actually a rare wind and water dual spiritual core cultivator. This kind of natural talent is naturally excellent, but compared to Wei Suo's immortal spiritual roots, it is no comparison with shapeshift great art at all. Is who hurting my brother? This group of young people went to the secret place not far from the Jade Flame House, and Hui Tianqing immediately went cold. Damn swindler, you have a good luck. In this guy's treasure receiving pocket, there are two things that water spirit Yuan Qi has. Ling Longtian sound transmission to Wei Suo's ear. Yes, don't waste time, you are waiting for me here. Because the god's secret place, the young man seems to be a person, Wei Suo acts like a person, so Wei Suo slid directly from the window after the sentence was transmitted to Ling Longtian and Long Muxing sound. Go out. The third brother, this person is secretly engaged in ghosts, count me. Upon seeing Wei Suo coming out, Hui Jin immediately clicked on Wei Suo and screamed. You are who, dare to count my 6 brothers? Hui Tianqing squinted at Wei Suo and sneered. Everyone saw that your 6th brother was injured by a cultivator of heavenly circuit realm. He was too bad. I have never seen such a bad golden core cultivator. Even true Yuan will be angry. Wei Suo haha smiled. Why, even if you are who doesn't dare. Huangpu Tianxi, who is peddling auspicious clouds, is very overbearing. It goes straight ahead and the eyes are cold. Listening to your accent is not our lonely cold continent cultivator. How, an alien cultivator, even our Huangpu aristocratic family is not in the eye. Is it inside? Alas, Wei Suo sigh. Now don't say is divine mystic great treasure can, even golden core great treasure cultivator are really too little. Usually golden core GRE treasure cultivator are already dignified and not offensive, so these golden core cultivator, and the background, natural arrogance cannot be, estimated that they would not dream of the face is actually a divine mystic great treasure can. It's fine to tell you, my name is Ni, my grandfather Wei Suo sighed and said it in a serious way. Ni yeah? Ni knight? Your grandfather? After a dozen young people and the surrounding cultivator, they suddenly reacted. It seems that you are really thinking of a dead home. Hui Tianqing and Huang Putianxi were extremely angered, and the breath of chilling emerged from the two people. Huang Putianxi also appeared in the white spiritual qi of the great treasure stock, which faintly formed a white furnace. Whoever comes first, you still have to save trouble, and you have settled it together. Wei Suo shook his head and did not put the two in his eyes. Where are you coming from? The cultivator, you dare to be so arrogant, you really are our lonely cold continent nobody, to deal with you, you need to benefit the great treasure brother and the emperor great treasure brother. A young cultivator great treasure surging sound wearing a great treasure red leather gown should be something worse than the sect of Hui family and Huangpu aristocratic family or the disciple of the family. At this time, surging sound great treasure is drinking, obviously thinking I want to please Hui Tianqing and Huangpu Tianxi. Are you also yelling with your grandfather? But this name also has thought division realm fourth layer, body's red pian is also spirit light flashing, looks very luxurious young cultivator, only just out surging sound, Wei Suo's eyes in the two strands of a foot to long faint divine light, just far saw the red robe young cultivator one eye, this red robe young cultivator then a surging sound scream, mouth gush blood, back to fly out. Hong, the surrounding cultivator suddenly became awkward. You wanna die? Hui Tianqing directly shot, a stalk of astral wind and a stalk of cyan shen shui in front of the rapid rotation, condensed together, forming a cyan gun. However, his cyan gun with a strong great treasure scent has not yet had time to shoot, and a cyan ray of has been sent from Wei Suo and hit him. Ah! Hui Tianqing screamed in surging sound, the chest was punched with a hole, blood arrogant, naked body was instantly beaten out of the dozens of feet. You! Huang Putianxi spilled a silver bead in front of him. This is weak mercury. It is a god mercury made from weak water and mercury, and its own powerful energy is amazing. Huangpu aristocratic family actually has such a secret place shapeshift great art, which can be put into the naked body, and the blending shapeshift great art powerful energy is played together. A lot of cultivators who know the goods emit a surging sound. Oh! Wei Suo is also surprised. He can see that the hundreds of silver beads played by Huang Putianxi are extremely heavy, and each one has a powerful energy of strong great treasure, giving him the feeling that he and nine yin weapon refining. Water-like shapeshift great art. Huang Putianxi's shapeshift great art is very similar to the analog ancient sword. The ancient sword is refining the flying sword in the naked body, and his shadow shift great art omits the flying sword refining, directly importing the shapeshift great art that can be refining into the naked body, and then like the sword the same as the UN. Such a blow, powerful energy far exceeds the ordinary golden core second layer cultivator. However, Wei Suo is not afraid of even the real sword, not to mention the kind of powerful energy that simulates this sword. Moreover, Huang Putianxi's divine consciousness is far from him. The god stealth great art of the secret seat of the desolate race can also be similar to Wei Suo, but Huang Putianxi's shapeshift great art speed, but it is too far from him. Oh, while a surging sound was emitted, Wei Suo moved to True Yuan to force two divine lights in the binoculars. The divine consciousness pressure pressed and quietly launched the great treasure by shapeshift great art. Huang Putianxi also had a surging sound screaming directly, and he was beaten up and down in the mouth and nose, and turned over several fights. What? All the onlookers of the cultivator were completely shocked, and even the cultivator on the second floor did not tremble. Hui family 500 years of natural talent the best genius cultivator, and a child of the amazing family of the family, actually a face-to-face, even the power to return, they were directly overturned. Genuine subscription red ticket. All coming. Your reply is the power of our most great treasure. Good-looking novels, tell your friends.